We have already created a lot of view pages. Now let's create a page with the help of which we can create an account record. Right? Let's create an edit page. So page layout controls two pages, right? Detail page and edit page. Detail pages we have already created, and let's create a view page. Oh, sorry, yeah, view page we have already created, and let's create an edit page. That's what we need to do. So let's create a new page, right? File, new, Visualforce, Visualforce page. Can you also create one? Related page blocks. Well, I can. I mean, yeah. Related page blocks means like, I mean, two page blocks in a single page. Related list, are you talking about? Related list, there is a tag, a separate tag for related list. I'm going to come to that later. Only let's create account, create page, right? So this is how it will go. And again, I'll use the standard controller, because standard controller, obviously, I mean, is there already a functionality to create a Visualforce page in Salesforce? That's how we create the pages, right? So we'll use Apex page standard controller, and I'm going to write down account and then sidebar equals to false. And over here, I'll write down form tag is must when you're creating a button that needs an action, right? I'm going to explain you what action it is, but I'm going to create an action. That means I'm going to create a button on the click of which something should happen into the database, or some action should get executed. So I need to. It's compulsory for me to use the form tag. So that like account creation page can be used as an edit page as well. We'll see that later on. Let's create an edit page first. Apex page block section. Okay. That's how it's looking out. Now let's add 3 more fields, let's say. Rating. So created a page, and in this, see, I never had to write down the code to create a drop-down list and set its value. If the field's data type was pick list, it automatically created a drop-down list in order to select the values that are already predefined. I can just use it like this. Okay. And this is the required field. So this red sign is, or red bar is automatically coming up over here. So this happens automatically. The field is universally required. Right? Okay. Yeah. Because of standard controller and the fields that we are using over here. The way we are using it. Now inside the Apex space guard, page block buttons. buttons coming up. Shall we create a record? Okay. So the record that I'm going to create is I can see, right? I'm going to select the type as channel partner reseller, one employees 2000 and say the here is McKinsey. Employees, it got changed because of that trigger that we created earlier, but it's channel partner reseller and rating is one. That's how it goes. Make sense, everyone? Let's go back and have a preview over there. Give me a second. I need to explain some things. So over here, let's have a look what I've created actually. I've created a form because without form, I cannot create a buttons or I cannot use any action. I need to add a form attribute for that. And inside form, I've written down Apex space block again, the account create page. And then over here are the values and everything. Till here, everything is similar, right? It's same. Then comes Apex space block buttons. So it's another attribute. It's not compulsory for you to write down Apex space block buttons, but if you'll write it down, it will show it on the top and the below like this, which is similar to the way we used to see the records in the page layout, or similar to the way we used to see the buttons in the page layout, right? If I'll remove this, let's see what will happen. The command button will be will still be visible, but like this. Not be visible according to the way it is shown to us on the page layout, like the page block buttons. And if I want, I can just add it in with the fields as well. There's no compulsion. Like, I mean, yeah, you can create a customized page. So that means a customized page. And customized page can have anything, literally anything. So see, it's coming up like this as the next field. So that's your choice, but I want to add page block buttons to it. That's how I'm going to add it. It's coming up like this. If I want to remove it from the top, saving it, it's going to only show the button on the bottom, not on the top. If you write down top, then in that case it will show it on the only on the top, but not on the bottom. That's all. And there are different attributes. I'm not going to discuss each and every attribute. You can see that in the developer reference guide. Depending on the situation that you are in, you can figure out that which attribute will work, because there are thousands of attributes. There's no point of discussing each one of them. Clear? We can. I'm going to talk about that as well. What is the question first? Sorry? And why not? Because it's required. And okay, so if you want me to create any field required, that's it. So I have made rating as required. See, this red bar is coming. That's how it works. Here, everyone, write it down. Then your record will never get saved. Your question is good. It's like if there is a phone field on account and you have not included that phone field in your page, and we are trying to save the record, it will give an error. I'm going to talk about that. Just write it down. Done? Okay. So see, this action is basically the one which is called doing all the operation related to the database, right? Inside this action, I've got this save thing, and this save is nothing but like an action which is already there in this standard controller, right? In this standard controller, there is a method named as save. So when I click on this button, that method gets called and performs all the DML operations and all the operations that we are expecting it to do. That is what happens. I hope that makes sense. Right? Voice is breaking. Still, Disha, is it only you? Is my voice coming up fine, guys? Tell me. Okay, now Now let me explain you where to get these actions, right? Where to know about these actions. So you go to setup. Buttons, links, and actions, right? And there's a save action that is already created. Where is it? Clean, delete, edit. No, this is not that same. Give me a second, guys. Let's go to student object first. We'll have a look. Object. No, these are the simple ones. These are basically the buttons that we are using. Who is joining now? So this save, let's understand it with that diagram. This is a Visualforce page, and that Visualforce page basically uses a standard controller, which is again a class created by Salesforce itself, which we are using it with the page layout or with the standard functionalities of Salesforce. And inside that class, we've got some methods called as save, cancel, and stuff like that. So with this Visualforce page, we have attached this save method by just using that curly brace and exclamation mark. And when we call that save method, all the field values that you have specified over there gets in there, and it creates an S object of it, and then it performs the DML operation, and it saves into the database. That's how it works. Is it clear? Yeah. So like this method writes down the DML and it saves it into the database. That's what happens. Sorry. So when it comes to standard controller, there are same actions for almost all of the controllers, but some different actions for some different controllers. That's what it is. But most of the time we use these save, cancel, and something like that. And if you want to create any custom functionality, then in that case we create our own Apex class, which we use as a custom controller, and we create our own method inside it. That's what we do. I hope that clears it up. If a field is if an email field is unique, and now I'm trying to insert, it will show the error over here on the Visualforce page itself. No, it will not show it automatically. There's a tag that I'm going to explain you later on, which is called as Apex page messages, Apex page messages and page message, that I have to include in the Visualforce page in order to see those errors. Otherwise, I will not be able to see. Is it clear, everyone? This account creation page. Cool. Oh, that's how it goes. Do one thing. Give me a second. So let me talk about the page reference thing. No, not the page reference thing. Do one thing. Create it for the student as well. Student create page. Write down right now. Write down a program with the help of which you can create a new record for student object. Cool, guys. Let's create it over here. Page student create page. So how will create it? Controller student underscore C. Oh, sorry. other field was there? Description, that's it. Submit. Not description. Preview. This is how it's coming up, right? Let's create a student record Arpit face email arpit@abc.com. Description. Record got created. Give me a second. Give me a second. So if there is a by default value over there on any of the fields, it will come up over there automatically. Will not wait, right? Because remember the steps and the triggers that we understood, the order of the execution of the steps. So the number one step was initialize the records, right, before the page gets loaded or anything. So if there is a default value for registration fees that is set as 5,000, 5,000 will come up over here automatically. Let me show it to you by setting it right now. So if registration fees and the default value for registration fees is 5,000, save. So when I'm going to preview this page, 5,000 coming up automatically. That's how it goes. Make sense? Okay. Now, is this clear? This is similar to the page that we created earlier. But earlier I said to you, or I told you that can't it be considered as edit page as well? Yes or no? How? How you can edit a record using this page? Exactly. So if I'm going to preview this particular page, this is coming up like this, but if I'll pass an account records ID over here, let's say this McKinsey one, ID equals to paste. The values which were there are getting initialized over here. And if I'll change channel partner to technology partner, and I'm going to save this record, it's going to edit that record. Technology partner. So the same creation page or the same page which we use to create a record can be used to edit a record as well. And how? If the ID is passed, then in that case it will be used as an edit page. And if an ID is not passed, then in that case it will be considered as a create page. So imagine what is happening inside that save code. It is doing upsert. It is not using insert DML statement. Why? Because if the record already exists, then in that case it will update that record, and if the record does not exist already, then in that case it will insert the record. That's all it is doing. Make sense? And the same thing applies to the student create page as well. So it's not student create page, student create and edit page. How to get the IDs dynamically in a Visualforce page? I'm going to explain you that, Kritika. Multiple IDs. You can also get multiple IDs, but usually to use these Visualforce pages, we do not need to use multiple IDs. Single ID is more than sufficient, or more than enough. Because we can only edit a record at once. We cannot edit multiple records at once using this page. We need to create another page to edit the multiple records at once. Over there, we'll see how we can get the multiple IDs, but over here, it's only a single ID that that is important to get. And I'm going to explain it to you later that how we can get that. So that makes sense. We can create a link, and when you hit that link to edit that particular record, it will go open that page, and by putting that question mark ID is equals to that particular value. Sorry? Depends on, like, okay, so I haven't explained you page block tables. So once I'll explain it to you. then only you'll understand that. And otherwise, I'll have to write down the complete code. Pratika, you got the answer of the question? I mean, I want to create and edit multiple records in single Visualforce. So how to get the IDs for that record? I'm going to explain you that later when I'm going to explain you Apex page block table tag. I think that's tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to do. Okay. There's no difference between output field and input field. So you're saying that there is no difference between a text field, there's no difference between a text field and a label. This is what you're saying, because input field basically takes an input, and output field never takes an input. It is not editable. Output field is never editable. Input field is always editable. Sorry? There are differences. There is a difference. There's a big difference, right? So if you're going to see this account view page, can you edit this? Can you edit this? When you go to this one, can you edit this? You can edit it all. That's the difference. I think I'm not getting your question. I got your question and you got the answer. Cool then. So that's how it goes. It's a student create and edit page, and yeah, that's how it basically works. Is it clear? In a button custom controller. Whenever you want to make any changes to the controller, you can. Okay, by the way, you cannot change the functionality of a standard controller. You cannot modify the code that is written in a standard controller. You cannot do that. What you can do is okay, so imagine there is a remote, right? When I click on this particular button, there is a standard functionality that is getting executed on behind it. So what I can do is I cannot change that coding, but what I can do is I can add another chip and I can use that same button, but that same button will execute another code because I've added another chip. So that another chip is a custom made chip, and that custom made chip is equivalent to a custom controller. But currently it is attached to a standard controller, which is a pre-built chip, and that we cannot modify. And the code that is written in the pre-built chip, we cannot modify that, we cannot change that. All what we can do is that instead of executing that standard chip functionality, we can divert it to a custom chip functionality, or executing a custom chip functionality. We create a new action. How you can create a new action? It's all execution. All of these executions are happening in Apex classes, in Apex codes, and in Apex methods. That'll not work. That's something very different. Actions, you cannot use that in your code as an action. What you're using is a method of an Apex class. This save is not an action, right? Where is it? The save is not an action. This is a method which is defined in this particular standard control. Like you're relating it with the actions which are available in Salesforce. So the actions which are available in Salesforce and the actions which are available in Apex are different. Okay. Got the answer, everyone? Okay. Any other question related to Visualforce or related to what you have learned today? Anything else? Anyone in the chat as well? Please let me know. Activity management, there is a document uploaded on that Salesforce admin classroom. Read that, you'll understand it. Read it once. Okay, what exactly you read in that document? Okay, so the task, okay, the task will be related to a particular human or an individual. So we use two objects to store the information of humans in Salesforce: lead and contact. Most of the times, and a task is related to a particular record of an object. So with which person this task is related to, we store it as UID. With which record it is related to, we store it as what ID. What? Anything else anyone wants to ask? What is the use of? It's a format in which what is the use of exclamation mark in merge fields when we create email templates? It's a format to use these fields, right? Or to substitute the values of the fields. How to get all tags and component lists in the description, which can be used to create Visualforce pages. You can just go Visualforce Developer Reference Guide. Or how do you get all the tags and everything? Tools for Visualforce, live controllers, everything. And list of all Visualforce tags and Salesforce. There you go. Visualforce Developers Guide, standard component reference. There it goes. Here are all the tags that are there, and when you click on a particular tag, it will show you the attributes as well associated to it. That's what you need to do.